Question, is this normal?
You are not kidding, are you?
This is a pretty hardcore origin story.
Holy fuck! That was diabolical!
All right, Combs. Welcome back to the Honeycomb Hideout. I'm your host, your Simp Master Thirst King, Joe Kane. And unfortunately, my co-pilot, my scientist supreme, is out in the world today. But that's not to say I'm alone in the hideout. We got a couple guests and a slightly sober occasion, but no less an event of celebration to discuss and imbibe. So, with me today, from Shining Otaku, we've got, oh man, Irvin, did we ever come up with a name for you?
I don't know if we did. I know, Mark has many names he uses.
I'm gonna check the archives just in case, because this is not your first time here, but it escapes me right now, but it won't for long.
I'm safe for now.
But of course, we've got Irvin Johnson.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Hopefully well. And of course, up and coming writer for Shining Otaku as well, Brianna.
Hi. I'm the introvert who got roped into all of this, so I'm here.
Oh yeah.
She also goes by the pen name Bree Chanel.
Mm-hmm.
Or Tenacious Bree. Hopefully Jack Black doesn't sue me.
He can't own the word tenacious, so it's fine. If anything, he'll consider it a compliment.
He's prepping his lawyers right now.
Indeed. But yes, we have Shining Otaku in the Honeycomb Hideout tonight because a legend in manga and anime has left the building, and it felt right to celebrate his contributions. Of course, I'm referring to Akira Toriyama, the creator of, among many things, Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump, and a fairly prominent video game character designer as well. And it kind of turns out he'd been going ill for a while, but they kept it pretty hush-hush based off what I was able to find online. But yeah, he did recently pass about, I want to say about a month ago, Irvin?
Yeah, it was at the beginning of March.
So about a month and a half ago, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall what he passed of?
Cerebral hematoma. But
None-
it sounds like, at least rumors and stuff, it sounds like he might have been sick.
Yeah, that's the thing. The rumor mill kind of made it seem like he'd been sick for a while, and this didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. They just kept it really hush-hush.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, not necessarily the worst thing to do, because Lord knows, when you're sick, that's when you're going to get the most attention.
And a lot of those, mangaka in Japan are kind of like celebrities. So
yeah, exactly.
You think about it like, hey, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
if he was going, or obviously he was going through something, but it's like, you want some kind of peace, especially, if he wants to spend time with his family, that sort of
yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about Chadwick Boseman. He kept his decline super hush-hush. It was basically conspiracy speculation until just about right before he died.
Oh, yeah.
Same with David Bowie. He didn't reveal it until literally he was on his deathbed.
Yeah. So, there's... While people might not like the fact they didn't know about it, these people are just as have a right to privacy as much as anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, he has passed. But I think now is as good a time as any to kind of dive into just what does Akira Toriyama mean to you? Just highlight some positives. I'm gonna start with Brianna.
Why we gotta start with me?
You're new, because you're new in the hideout.
A new kid on the block.
Yeah, huh?
The pressure is on.
Oh, no pressure, no pressure. Consider this: the quicker you get it over with, the farther it is from the next time we call on you.
True.
Yes. So, like Brianna, in terms of Akira Toriyama, was your primary exposure for him?
For me, it was Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Growing up as a kid, I grew up with like Sailor Moon, and I was one of those, when I was like really young, I had categorized cartoons as like boy shows and girl shows. So when I was like really young, I wasn't watching Dragon Ball or Pokemon or any of that. I considered that boy shows. So I was watching Sailor Moon, Powerpuff Girls, things that I considered girly.
Oh, okay.
But then once I got into middle school, I was just watching Toonami one day, and Dragon Ball Z was on, and I was just like, damn, this is good. So I gave boy shows a chance, and boy shows slept. So I continued watching it.
Hey.
So just those memories of me watching Dragon Ball Z, and then it was as it premiered. So I would watch it with classmates, and then we would go to school and just talk about Dragon Ball Z in class. I just have fond memories of that.
Okay.
I think the Frieza arc is probably the most memorable for me as a child, but as an adult, Cell is stand out.
I mean, let's be honest though. The Frieza arc replayed at least 4 or 5 times in consecutive order before they got any new episodes. Before they moved on to the Android saga.
It's just so ingrained in my mind now.
Oh yeah. I mean, watch them on repeat long enough, it'll stick. All right, what about you, Irvin?
Well, I would say for me, coming up, obviously Dragon Ball was one of the introductory anime that I really consider it my first anime. I know people always say, "Oh, Pokemon," because Pokemon was the first one, but I say Dragon Ball felt like it because it made me want to see more of what else was out there. Not to mention, I used to want to make a Dragon Ball video game when I was a kid. So it meant a lot to me. I watched Dragon Ball Z, then Dragon Ball, and then of course GT. I used to like GT back in the day. I know people talk about GT and whatnot, but it's like, who didn't like Super Saiyan?
Super Saiyan 4?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now
the theme song slaps. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, the if I remember, I'm trying to remember what the original theme song was.
I don't know if I can sing it without getting copyright strikes.
Oh yeah, no. But no, yeah, the original theme song of Dragon Ball, like for Japanese, the Dragon Ball GT song, fucking is dope.
Oh yeah, the Dan song.
Yep. That song is fucking great.
Oh yeah, no, I love that.
Oh
song.
yeah, no, but the American one though, that's just like.
Oh yeah, the Dragon
rap. The rap. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was cringe.
Step into the Grand Tour.
Grand Tour. Dragon Ball GT.
Oh.
You know what's funny? It's one of those things. I hate to say it because it's so bad. It's good.
It is. Like, I definitely agree. It qualifies as so bad it's good.
It's like the 4Kids One Piece rap. It's so bad it's good.
Oh damn! No, I absolutely agree. But now I'm about to age myself in a major fucking way. But we're about to do this anyway. I actually remember when Dragon Ball, not Z, but Dragon Ball was actually on public access television during the super early days, and they had an English dub that wasn't even like when Ocean, I think, was still doing it. Because the thing of it is, during the early days of anime being introduced in America, and we're talking like early 90s, like 94, 95. You can only see it on those syndicated networks, and it always had the weird time slots because this stuff hadn't hit traction yet. Z hadn't made it to the mainstream, and you could basically only buy it on videotape. That was the only way you could watch any of it. But somehow, not only was Dragon Ball Z out there in the ether as just as videotapes, you could get the tapes, but Dragon Ball slip under the radar in their syndication networks like TV 20. I could basically watch it on Sunday mornings, and it was just like that was my actual first exposure to anime was actual Dragon Ball, and I kept seeing the damn
one of the few people that can actually say it was Dragon Ball.
Exactly. And I wear that with fucking pride, god damn it. Because Dragon Ball was fucking fantastic. I loved it so much. I think it molded a little more of my comedy than I realized, but that's a whole other thing. But the damn Emperor Carrot episode with Bulma in the bunny suit.
Oh god.
And the goddamn rabbit gangster that could turn people to carrots. That episode aired so goddamn often. But yeah, no.
Episode for me that actually the first episode I ever seen of Dragon Ball Z was when Android 16 was fighting Cell. So that
was your first episode?
That was my first episode.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like I'll never forget that.
What it is, I actually lucked out in Dragon Ball in terms of Z. My first episode was the first episode.
Yeah, same here.
I completely lucked out in that regard. I just happened to catch it. I think during one of its recycles, a little bit later, like not quite when Toonami that it hadn't made it to Toonami yet. It was actually on the syndicated networks but it was on a separate network from Dragon Ball, if you can believe it. Y'all, anime rights were fucking weird as shit.
Oh no, I know what you're saying. I can remember one time when you know how Yu Yu Hakusho had like a movie. Right?
Oh yeah.
I remember one time
I saw that shit first before I even knew it was a series.
I didn't see the movie first, but I remember one day I was just flipping through stations and I'm like, wait, there's a Yu Yu Hakusho movie, and it wasn't Cartoon Network, it wasn't Toonami, and I was like, why isn't this on Toonami? Like, and I watched it, but the voices were different and everything, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Oh yeah, no, I love that movie. The funniest shit in the world though is I got that on bootleg from when I was in high school when I first saw it, and just oh man, I love that thing so much because, and especially once the Funimation dub came out, I would go back and watch the original dub of it. And I'm like, man, you can't even get this shit no more.
You know what's funny? I don't even think Funimation ever even dubbed that.
Nope,
movie.
not the movie. No,
I have no idea to this day why they still haven't done it.
I think it's a rights quagmire, honestly. I think the movie itself has a bunch of other bullshit tied to it that is actually preventing them from being able to do it. Because Yu Yu Hakusho was huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's what I think anyway. But the movie itself was. Do I want to say it's good? No. I want to say I loved it. It's quality. It was an anime movie, so quality varies. They can't all be the One Piece movies.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. Getting back on track a little bit though. But yeah, in Dragon Ball being my exposure to it, I got to see how the more of the humor and whatnot, and I think that's one of the things that always fascinated me about Toriyama was that. He took it. He had his show. He had his series, Dragon Ball. It was basically a fantasy comedy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it started out as. It didn't even lean into the martial arts that heavy. It was just a fantasy comedy with some martial artists in it. It wasn't until he introduced the Tenkaichi Budokai that's when it actually properly became a martial arts comedy with fantasy elements.
Yeah.
And then he pivoted again at the end of Dragon Ball. Well, technically the end of Dragon Ball. The manga was just Dragon Ball the whole way through. But he pivoted to Raditz and the Saiyan and the introduction of the Saiyans and all that. And the tone of the series completely changed. It's one of those rare instances of a creator being able to completely tone shift his entire series, turning into something almost completely different from what it started as, but still succeeding with it. But people not dropping off, or in fact, actually eating it up even more.
Mm-hmm.
That shit is legendary to me.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to pull that off so masterfully, and the anime doesn't really reflect it very much, but Toriyama has a very, very good grasp of pacing. Like if you ever get the chance, like I'm sure you've read it, Irvin, but have you read the manga, Brianna?
I've read bits and pieces of it, but I never actually read through the whole thing.
I would legitimately say if you get an opportunity, definitely check out Z, the Z portion of the manga. Mm-hmm. His mastery of tone and pacing within his panels, his timing of his scenes is fucking fantastic. You can learn a lot with how he does his manga paneling. But yeah, just pivoting from comedy to that level of action successfully. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing of it is, Toriyama was already a millionaire when he even started Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, from Dr. Slump.
Yeah, and so many people don't even know that. They think Dragon Ball was his hit. And I'm like, yeah, no, this was the second time around, you know? Yeah. And the thing of it is, Dr. Slump in itself had a lot of comedy for its time, but in a lot of ways it had its own little revolutionary bits, like crazy shit that I think might actually be true. If you check the timeline, I think Toriyama accidentally created the poop emoji.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah, you get the smiling poop that always popped up in Dr. Slump. Mm-hmm. I think that's literally the first time that ever popped up anywhere.
Oh, where it's all swirly. And
yeah,
I never realized. I always wondered, why is it always so swirly and
that's the thing there was nothing in the popular consciousness that was anything like that before then. And then all of a sudden, then you start seeing it, a lot later on, and like in terms of the internet. But it's like, who thinks this shit up? And then it catches on like 20 years later. What the fuck? But just it's like little shit like that is one of the things that I love so much about Toriyama as a creator. Like, the guy understood how to tell stories in a lot of different ways. He could tell the episodic story, but he also had enough of a grasp of storytelling to be able to know how to draw things out when they're needed. But the motherfucker's improvisational skills were ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Think about you look at the Android saga. You know how the original villains were supposed to be 19 and 20.
Yep.
The editor didn't like it. Then they're like, okay, we'll go ahead and scrap that. Let me get two. Then they go ahead and he creates 17, 18. It's like, you got a couple teenagers doing this? Like, what? So then they go ahead and they get Cell. Cell comes along. They don't like the way Cell looks, changes form again. Don't like the way he looks, changes it again. But Toriyama's actual favorite form of Cell was his second form, not the
honestly. I kind of like that. That form was one of my favorites too.
But that's why you have what was it in the new Dragon Ball Super movie?
Yep.
You have Cell Max. That's why he looks the way he does. Yep. Because that was Toriyama's favorite design of Cell.
Yeah, and Toriyama's been more involved with the movies than in anything else. So that made total sense to me. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But now for. Okay, since we're just in full geek out mode at this point, I guess we talked about our first exposures. Do y'all have a favorite episode?
Oh, it's always going to be, you know what? It may be when Gohan first went Super Saiyan 2.
Oh,
that's
okay.
a good one.
That is a good one.
I mean, I guess because I just like the whole, it's kind of weird for me, right?
Oh,
because,
okay.
You might have favorite moments, but it's hard to encompass it in just one episode.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like when Gohan was killing the Cell Juniors, but I also like the build up to when Android 16 is telling Gohan, let it go, just let it go. And then Gohan, sees his head get stepped on and just unleashes his power, starts yelling. Like that whole build up. But that technically, when Gohan powered up, that was the end of that episode.
Yep.
So I might, if I have to choose between the two, probably maybe the episode after that when Gohan was actually killing the Cell Juniors, probably. He's just unleashing his wrath and everybody's just shocked, I mean, to be honest with you, to that day, I think that's why, you have characters like Vegeta, who have respect for Gohan, because everybody's like, I know what this kid is capable of. Even when he's an adult, it's like, I know what you're capable of. You know,
I know what you can do. Why aren't you doing it? Oh yeah. What about you, Bree?
Again, this could be because it's so ingrained into my head from watching it so much as a kid, but the episode where Goku goes Super Saiyan for the first time.
Oh, okay.
That just stands out to me.
Oh,
After-
it's iconic.
After Frieza just kills everybody, threatens Gohan's life, and then Goku's just like, "Fuck this shit, you're going down." He's serious for like the first time. We've never seen Goku like this, and then it was even more a big thing in Japan because they didn't know what he was turning into. They didn't know if he was a monster or if he was still a good guy, a bad guy. It was a big deal.
I think what makes that scene so big, especially even in that arc, is you think about how much effort Goku used. He used everything in his toolbox and everything, and seemingly beat Frieza. Everybody had been wearing him down, doing what they had to do.
Oh yeah,
Vegeta at that point had died, so it's like, okay, this is the end of it. And then for Frieza not only to survive, but then come back and just be mopping them up. It's like it reminds me of someone literally putting 110% what they had to do, and they're just like, you know what, I'm over it.
Yeah.
And he just like snapped.
Yeah,
Goku just snapped.
Oh, absolutely. And that was one thing I love more about the Japanese version than the American version is that there was a lot of implication in that Goku was having trouble controlling himself during that first transformation because Toriyama did want to always make sure to imply that there's danger behind Saiyans in a lot of ways. I mean, you had the Ozaru transformation and all that, but ascending to more power means leaning more into that heritage, which Goku had kind of basically turned his back on completely. But Saiyans by nature are super aggressive. One might almost say brutal. I wouldn't say cruel by nature. That's more cultural touchstone, but they are definitely a brutal people.
You see that more. I think, even in that arc, the Frieza saga, you saw Vegeta's more brutal side. You saw really what I kind of consider it's funny. Goku, I say, is the best martial artist.
Oh yeah,
but to me, Vegeta's more of a soldier.
Oh
you know, you saw more of his soldier military side. All throughout that arc. Vegeta literally killed the whole Ginyu swap.
He did. He literally killed them all.
He mopped the floor.
Not in one go. It took him a bit to get the other two.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Technically, he did not kill Captain Ginyu.
In Super, he did actually.
In Super, he does, but he did not kill them all on Namek. But God damn it! I literally forgot that he did get him in Super. Oh, fuck! Why did they do Super like that?
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the worst arcs I feel like they did.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of checked out in Super.
After
Super Saiyan God, I was just like, I don't.
No. Actually, facts of facts, I love Super Saiyan God. I like the concept of it. Blue is where I'm like, okay, this is getting stupid.
Yeah.
See, what I think that they should have done, to be honest with you, and I do like Super Saiyan God as well. But
it's the
really,
red.
it feels almost like they created those transformations too early.
Yeah.
And really, Ultra Instinct really should have been what Super Saiyan God is, or maybe Blue if they were going to do it like Ultra Instinct. Because I don't really know too many people who don't like Ultra Instinct.
Instinct at its conceptual level is actually dope as hell.
And it felt earned.
Yes.
When he did it, it was like, okay, it felt earned. Blue is the only one where it's like, okay, it didn't feel earned. So if they really, it should have been Super Saiyan God and then maybe Ultra Instinct. The form after.
Honestly, Blue feels like an executive decision.
Yeah.
That's what Blue
they
feels
were yelling
like.
at Toriyama. They're like, we need something for the toy.
I just gave you Super Saiyan
Toys.
God. You got
more.
another one already.
Another one.
But yeah. Let's see.
Now they have, if you notice, the Ultra transformation. That's really because you got Super Saiyan, or not Super Saiyan. You got Ultra Instinct. You got Ultra Ego. Yeah. Even though they're not calling Beast Gohan Ultra Beast or something, it might as well be.
I think Pokemon has that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's it's funny because I think with the transformations that they're doing, which I kind of like, they're kind of making all of them unique to each person now. So
honestly, that is the layer that you needed to go, because Super Saiyan, unfortunately, it became a
bargain
cookie cutter. Super Saiyan bargain sale. I always love that line. But
that's an author being very aware of what's going on in his story, where he's like, you know what, it makes sense for this character to say this.
Yeah. But I will say, the fact that there's that tailoring it to each character, because Gohan, honestly, Gohan should have had his own thing because he's half human, half Saiyan. So technically, you'd think any powers and abilities would manifest differently. I mean, and they did initially, but I like the idea that him being pushed to that additional level actually did bring that uniqueness out. Whereas it's with Goku and Vegeta, it was the injection of God Ki, and not just leaning on the Super Saiyan side, but also their training, their otherworld training that helped to kind of lead them to their particular. And these now one thing. Now I'm not caught up entirely on the manga. Vegeta, I know Ultra Instinct, of course, is a trained skill, but is Ultra Ego also?
Yeah, so Ultra Ego is him tapping into the Hakai or destruction energy that
okay.
Beerus uses.
Okay, so
if you learn how to use that, then you can get Ultra Ego.
Okay, so it's like a God of Destruction tailored technique.
And you know what? The funny thing is, though, I think about it. It's like, and this is maybe just because I'm a super Gohan fan. I really feel like the God training should have been more of Gohan's training because I'm like, wait a minute, didn't Gohan start with the Kais and they bring the Kais first before Goku or Vegeta even touch that? So I'm like, if anything, what they probably should have did, and this is probably going to sound strange, but like they should have gave Goku Ultra, they could have gave him Ultra Instinct if they wanted to give it to him because it's kind of more martial arts based. So it's like, give him Ultra Instinct, if you're going to give Vegeta Ultra Ego, fine, but it should have been, Gohan should have had like, probably, honestly, what Super Saiyan God. It would have made more sense for him to have been the Super Saiyan God or something like that.
I would say, I like where you're going with that, and I think I agree.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that. That and just like, you got the silver, red, and purple, and just like, damn, that's just, that's a nice color spectrum there.
And that could have been more of like the Super Saiyan God, like, he has like a fiery, like a fire burning within, because he's all red and everything. Yeah. So I mean, I think that would have made sense for Gohan.
No, I definitely agree. Excuse me.
One more thing. Speaking of Gohan. Besides Great Saiyaman, because I love Great Saiyaman, my favorite Gohan moment is probably Gohan versus Cell. That's that's probably my favorite fight of the series.
I didn't even mention my favorite episode. And the funny thing is, it's one of the best animated ones too. And that's not Goku versus Cell, but the one when the entire episode where Goku ends it with the instant transmission Kamehameha. During the Cell game.
And Cell just is like, no!
Exactly. That is my favorite episode because that was literally the best looking fight of the entirety of the Cell of the Android and Cell sagas, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
It just hit me that both Goku and Vegeta have like surprise Cell in that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, because if you remember Vegeta when he did the final flash, like at first Cell's just like sitting there like, what's up? And then it gets close, he's like, oh shit.
Like, and the best part, I love the fact that, and this is actually going to lean into my next question a little bit, but I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to save it for the next one because I want to know between Dragon Ball and Z, we're not counting GT because Toriyama was not involved in GT, unfortunately. And you know what? Fuck it. We're encountering, we're bringing Super into this. Favorite villain?
Damn.
Huh?
Damn.
I'm biased to say Cell because I always tell everybody Cell was an amalgamation of everything they ever faced. I'm like, and someone might say, well, how was that? I'm like, well, think about it this way. He was created by the Red Ribbon Army. That was really the real, I'm going to say the real, like, true, like, antagonist in the beginning of Dragon Ball. They're not the
in terms of Dragon Ball, well, there's Emperor Pilaf, but that was
he's like a joke.
Yeah.
He was like the Team Rocket of the series.
He looked, base.
Probably was the blueprint for sure.
Actually,
he walked so Team Rocket could run.
He walked so that Team Rocket could blast off.
There you go.
But but I would say, like, Cell because of like, okay, he's like the Revenge of the Red Ribbon Army. You got that. Plus, he had the DNA of everybody that they had fought.
Yep.
You know, and including themselves. And then, and at that point, Gohan had to be the one to do it. And Gohan, even though he didn't have Gohan's DNA, it was like, you know, it's almost like they underestimated like the kid that was rocking with them. And it's like, nah, like he's gonna be the one to end this. So I kind of like the way that they passed it towards. And I mean, Cell thought he was perfect. His whole thing was perfection. Like in some ways, I mean, Cell was evil, but
it's that Vegeta and Frieza that fucked him. That fucked him over.
Yeah, I think. But you know what's funny? Cell in some ways actually seems like it would have made sense to me. I could have seen Cell becoming good before Frieza in some ways. Like now they have Frieza kind of dancing around being like that anti-hero a little bit.
Oh God, I hope not. Because if I remember correctly, when he went Black Frieza, didn't he literally jump up, beat Goku and Vegeta's asses, and like, all right, just want to prove I could do that. Peace.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's one of those things that he's died enough times where he's just like, man, I'm you know, kind of like I'm over it, you know, like I just wanted to beat you guys up and then I'll fight you later or something, or maybe he needs them for something, but like
maybe,
but like Cell, his whole thing was perfection.
Yeah,
you know, to the point where it was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and throw these Cell games. I'm going to wait here, give you guys some time just so I can beat you up and prove. And then after I'm done, then I'll blow up the earth. But it's like, if you take that type of character, I could see that character if certain things would have happened. Maybe, you know, almost like, he just seemed like he was trying to prove his purpose. Yeah. He was trying to live his purpose. But if he found something else in his purpose, I could see that character not necessarily being evil, per se.
There's actually a one of the guys from Team 4-Star, Masako X, on YouTube. He actually did a storytelling series where he and his writing partner actually put together what would happen if Cell had turned good. I don't remember quite how it went, but it was always a concept that I thought would have been interesting. Yeah, and that might be something worth checking out.
Like another character. Now, this character wasn't made by Toriyama, but it was still, you know, like a Dragon Ball character that I could have seen. Like I always say, between Frieza and Cooler, I could actually see Cooler turning good, or not good, but like an anti-hero. Hear me out. Why I say this? Because if you look at it like with Cooler, right? His whole thing, he was off in another part of the galaxy or whatever, really didn't have, like, we didn't really see the same sadistic nature from him that we saw from Frieza.
Okay.
I think it was more so like, hey, you know, like, Frieza was like the special one, the bratty kid. That's really what Frieza is. He's like a big bratty kid, blowing up all these plans. Cooler, I kind of see it as like he showed up like, oh, you killed my brother. Okay, I'm going to have to, you know, avenge him.
Cooler was the angsty teenager.
Yeah. But I just don't see. I don't know. I could see Cooler. I forget. Like I had a whole conversation with a few people about this. We came up with like a whole fan fiction on why we should see Cooler being not good, but like almost just like kind of like an anti-hero in the long run. Because just his personality, he didn't seem sadistic per se. You know, like he didn't have the same sadistic nature as like Frieza did.
Okay. I wouldn't normally. I'd be on board with that if not for the Cooler sequel movie that came out.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. No, like I ain't gonna step on your dream. Not gonna do that. I will say that's fascinating. No, I will be the first one to admit I am more of a fan of villains that stay villains, because it seems like there's such a trend of redeeming villains now.
Yeah, it's like every villain has to have a redemption arc now.
And I'm just like, not everybody got to be Zuko.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody has to be Zuko, yo.
I think Frieza should have stayed bad.
Frieza absolutely should. I'm sorry. Space Hitler should not get a redemption arc.
I'm just thinking in my head, Goku, this man killed your friends, threatened to kill your son, and now all of a sudden you guys are like on good terms? Like, how does that work?
The funny thing of it is, I've always found it fascinating about that, and I saw some interviews with Toriyama where he actually puts a little bit more explanation into why he was so willing to spare Frieza and like a lot of his villains, actually. Because the thing of it is, Goku has always kind of had, he's never necessarily been a hero. He's done good things and he's done the right thing when needed, but he's never necessarily been truly heroic. Most of the things he does are either to protect someone he loves or to do something that just needs to be done.
Kind of like the similarity with like Luffy.
A little bit, yeah, a lot of it. And I wouldn't, and we know that Oda was a hell of a student of Toriyama.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's the case here, because people, when the Superman analogies started popping up more and more, a lot of people leaned into that. Hell, the original like dub of Dragon Ball started leaning into that a lot, like making Goku this like super heroic type of character, but that's really not who Goku's ever been.
Yeah.
He's always been, he seeks stronger opponents, but and if his stronger opponent puts his family or his planet in danger, he steps up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's part I do like, is that's kind of like, okay, it's almost like they get into a fight and then it's like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand. Let me reel it back a little bit, like, or it'd be like, hey, you know, like Vegeta, I think we need to fuse because I think everybody's gonna die if we don't.
Exactly.
Like, you know, that's pretty much how it goes with Goku. But like, I think that what was I gonna say about had to do with something with Vegeta. Oh, going back to like, you think about it, that's why in the, I'm gonna say like the original like Japanese, I think. Like when he asked Krillin to spare Vegeta's life, you know.
Yep.
But when he asked him, he actually put it to him like, hey, I know this is very selfish. Like he actually admitted. I think that's a powerful moment to explain Goku's character.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, I know he killed everybody. I know this is going to be messed. Basically, he said, I know this is fucked up. You know?
I know this is fucked up, but he throws hand good. And I want to throw hands with him again.
And you saw how, like, Krillin, you know, obviously he was upset about it, but he was just like, all right, I'll let you have this one. Just because you saved everybody's butt so many times, we'll let you have it.
But I love you, but fuck you, dog.
Also, the fact that Goku gave Cell a sensu bean before Gohan fought him.
Yeah, and I don't care what your argument is. You cannot tell me that Goku is heroic letting that, you know, doing that shit. He is that entire action completely kiboshes any superheroic analogy.
You know what it is? But like, one thing about that scene that I kind of read it as is almost like he felt that, like, you know, how would I put it? Like, he was sticking his chest out that much as a father, where it's like, I know my kid is gonna kick your ass, so I don't. But then realized after a little bit, like when Piccolo's like, you realize that Gohan is, you know, is just a kid, right? And he doesn't have the same fight nature as you. Just like, oh shit.
He's like, you know, guys, I think I fucked up.
Piccolo's like, I've been the one training him while you were dead, so I think I know a little bit better than you.
Also, one of my favorite bits of random trivia that I found out, apparently Toriyama's favorite character was Piccolo.
Oh yeah, and
I can see that.
So the Dragon Ball superhero movie was actually originally supposed to be just a Piccolo movie.
Oh, it's all there, and I love it.
I love the movie too. You know, I think, you know, and it's funny now. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think I don't know if it was the director over the movie or somebody that was, you know, in charge of the movie. I know they kind of pushed him to include Gohan, and I mean, as a Gohan fan, I'm like, thank you. I do appreciate
I'm not mad about it, because I love Gohan too. The Great Saiyaman arc is literally one of my favorite arcs as well.
I love
but I'm glad Piccolo, you know, got a movie to himself. That was unexpected. Not to mention, I'm like, oh, Piccolo can actually compete with the big guys again. Like, he's not off on the
Orange
sideline.
was unexpected. I did not expect
But I like,
Orange.
you know what? But it's one of the few forms that I've introduced in Super that actually I feel like they put a little time into, because he kind of looks like, well, he looks like I don't know if you've seen what the Nameless Namekian looks like. He looks kind of like the Nameless Namekian or like Lord Slug or something like that. So it's like, okay, you guys kind of bulked him up a little bit. It wasn't just the color change. You know, he actually looks a little bit different. Plus, Piccolo doesn't have 50 million transformations. You know? So it's like, if you give him one form, I'm like, I think we could all let that slide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now he doesn't have to suck up another Namekian to stack up. It's like, dude, this feels like cannibalism. What the shit? Okay. You're supposed to be a vegan race. What the hell?
I guess they're kind of like slugs, like Lord Slug.
Yep, absolutely. And that was one thing I definitely appreciated about that entire movie was like, wait a minute, Goku and Vegeta are off on, is this a Piccolo movie? Yes! Oh, I was overjoyed when I saw it in theaters. Such good shit. But
that
yeah,
was smart of him too to use the dragon to unlock his potential.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what's funny? Whenever I see things like that happen in Dragon Ball, I'm like,
why did it take this long for you to think of this?
Not even just that. I'm thinking like, if I know, I'm like, shoot, I'm like, let's get everybody else to unlock their potential. I'm like, thinking like in case somebody shows up, I'm like, I mean, granted, I know it's pretty late in the game and all the human characters are weak, but I'm like, I still would be like, you know what? Somebody go unlock Tien's potential. Somebody go
unlock Yamcha's potential.
Yeah.
Tien would never do it. Let's be honest. Personality-wise, he would never do it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But Krillin, though.
Yeah.
Krillin, old boy needs to be able to keep up with his wife.
But Krillin already got his potential unlocked.
He got it unlocked, technically, but technically also Gohan did. But
then Gohan has like this limitless, bottomless, thing.
Yeah.
Like honestly,
so I think there are levels to that, the tiers.
I kind of wonder if his beast transformation that he just got is based off of if they want to make it convenient off of the Ox King.
I mean, actually, that'd be interesting. That tied to his, because not come to think of it, Chi-Chi has a other like like a spiritual lineage technically. I'm not sure if the
Chi-Chi's
Ox
superhuman.
King, yeah, I don't know if does Ox King qualify as a god? No, he doesn't. No,
but he's supposed to like. I mean, I don't know what.
I'm not
he is,
sure- yeah, I'm not sure
but
what
he
he
has like
is.
the whole demon theme.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, if you have like, why not be from? I mean, he's clearly like a giant. He's not a small guy. Although they've shrunk him down over the years.
They shrunk him a lot.
Yeah.
But I was like, if you look at him back in Dragon Ball, he's huge. Like, he could probably pick up everybody with one hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. And then now I'm just thinking about Chi-Chi and like, shit, he really dropped the ball with Chi-Chi, didn't he? But Toriyama has also made it very clear he's not good at writing women.
Yeah.
Did Toriyama start the trend of transformation? Like Super Saiyan. Everybody's like, oh.
He started the trend of that type of transformation. Like transformations were all over anime throughout. Like a lot of the supernatural stuff really had centered on a lot of different transformations. But the changing of the hair and whatnot. And like the ascending forms and stuff.
Yeah, changing forms.
Yeah.
If he didn't create it, then he popularized it.
He popularized. That's the word. Yeah, he definitely popularized that. And I think part of it was like, I only did it because of my editors.
Oh yeah, I think the reason why the hair color was even what it was because he didn't feel like filling it in.
Yep. Literally, he created that transformation because he regretted making Goku's hair black. And and honestly, that entire prospect is hilarious as hell to me. I love the fact that one of the most iconic transformations in manga and anime history was just because he wanted a break from blacking in the hair.
I think originally when they colored it in manga, it was white, instead of
Yeah, they hadn't settled it on being blonde until I want to say probably volume. I think it was volume 28 or either 28 or 30 when it finally got, because of course it came out in the manga first, and it was a long ways away from the from before it was going to show up in the anime. But the funny thing was, it actually showed up in the Lord Slug movie. They were going to debut it in the Lord Slug movie before it actually debuted on the anime series, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But they were going to do it, but because of the fact that they didn't actually want it to be ruined there, as opposed to being in the actual series, that's how they came up that like Super Saiyan half thing.
Yeah, the false Super Saiyan.
Yep. That's where that shit came from, because they were actually going to.
Yeah, I always found that weird watching the Lord Slug movie. He's like, oh, Goku's become a Super Saiyan. I'm like, he's a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, and it was just like, who thought this was a good idea? But now, considering that we talked so much about Dragon Ball, like, have you been able to check out any of his other works? Honestly, I've read some of Dr. Slump. The stuff is funny as hell, but it is of its time.
All I know is
not
Arale,
a lot of things transfer.
I have not, but I don't know. I've never actually read Dr. Slump. I just know of the character Arale.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, but Arale. Oh, damn. That character is literally just... She's the ultimate OP protagonist, basically. Like, she is stronger than anything on her version of Earth. So every time she crossed over with Dragon Ball, I'm like, no.
Oh yeah, I think even made a joke. They had like an episode of Super or something where I'm like, even Vegeta talked about, like can't beat a gag character.
Yeah,
like
that. She's basically Saitama before Saitama.
Oh yeah,
yeah, she's purely a gag character. She's literally meant to be as powerful as she needs to be, which is always stronger than everything else.
So she's like Squirrel Girl.
Or Squirrel Girl's like Arale.
Oh.
That would make more sense.
But Squirrel Girl is less not quite powerful. She's very persuasive, though. Because she's talked down more villains than actually physically beat. Though, I still want to see the story where she actually beat Galactus. I want to know how she did that. But I don't think anybody's been able to tackle that one just yet. But yeah. Now, considering the fact that, unfortunately, Toriyama passed recently, he, as stated before, he wouldn't get the chance to actually see his latest work actually get released.
Dragon Ball Daima.
Yeah. Now, the thing that I found most hilarious was how many people were dunking on Daima when it was first announced and they first showed the trailers. So I want to get you guys' impression of what did you all think of Daima when it first released? No, taking all the us celebrating Toriyama and whatnot, taking all that out of it. What was your real legitimate first reaction when you saw it?
I was looking forward to it, but I mean, I still kind of was like, they're turning into kids again. I'm not sure how I feel, but I mean, I knew I was going to watch it, because I watched Dragon Ball. So, I know a lot of people were like, oh no, or complaining and upset. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not upset. I'm like, I preferred Super to come back to the anime so they can animate some of those arcs that the manga's covered. But
the Galactic Patrol arc, I'm looking forward to seeing that animated eventually.
Amuro and so it's like I wanted to see that stuff, but I'm not mad about Daima, and I'm looking forward to it. And I was looking forward to it even before he
yeah. So also, I do have a theory that I think they're literally building up content so that they don't fall into the same trap of needing a bunch of filler next time they try to animate. To actually continue Super. I hope that's the case, because I do want to see that stuff animated, but I really hope that they're actually just building up buffer.
I think they probably are. I'm like, I don't think Dragon Ball is going anywhere anytime soon. Man, it makes too much money.
Yeah, that's a secret word.
But you've got to have money.
But what do you think about it, Brie?
Honestly, I didn't really think much of it when I saw it, because I'm kind of at the point where I'm just like Dragon Ball fatigue. It's like Dragon Ball is everywhere, and I'm just like, I need a little break from Dragon Ball. I still have mad respect for the series, but it's just Goku and Vegeta every 5 seconds. I'm just like, you guys know other characters exist too, right? And going back to how Toriyama was kind of bad at writing women, the fact that he completely forgot about Launch, just.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, I loved her. She was awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the reason that she kind of disappeared is because her blonde transformation people might confuse that with Super Saiyan. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't think that's true, because she disappeared long before he was ever considering even that, remotely considering that stuff.
I think that's what he said. He forgot.
Yeah, he actually did admit. Yeah, that's right. He did actually admit he just forgot that she existed.
Well, when you remember her, you couldn't bring her back.
Technically they did.
Every now and then.
She does make cameos every so often.
That's not the same thing as being a part of the cast, though.
But I mean, considering
18 kind of fills that role now.
A little bit.
So you just replaced her with a brand new character.
You think about who's the beautiful one on Oroshi's Island now, like for a long time they had Krillin and 18 being on the island with Roshi. So that's who
I mean,
Roshi's
it
all
really,
like.
but that's the thing. It boils down to what would she bring to the dynamics of the cast now, especially considering where the stories are going. Like sometimes, unfortunately, a character doesn't fit with the narrative direction at certain points.
True.
Like how Yamcha really doesn't pop up that often.
Yamcha's actually just a joke now.
He literally is. But when that baseball episode popped around, his ass was damn useful.
Oh yeah, it's funny that it's that Yamcha's joke in story and to us as the readers.
Yes. But
like, remember when he thought he was gonna get an invite to the Tournament of Power, and he's like, "Oh yeah, where's my invite?" He's just sitting there. I'm just gonna wait till Goku gives me my invite.
And then he grabbed Frieza.
The fact that him dying is a meme now. That says
like,
it all.
wow, that you literally you're so weak to the point I would rather go grab someone from the dead. That who, mind you, we can barely trust. Yeah, can't really trust him at all, and who's probably killed half the team before. Yeah. We'd rather grab him than grab you. It's like, wow. I would feel so disrespected. But at the same time, given how high the stakes were, it's like, can you really be mad? Yeah. Like, okay, we had to get him.
That's true.
Because you weren't going to help that much. If it would have been maybe just a regular Budokai Tenkaichi, then, then I think he have a right to feel away.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
Because you can afford to lose.
Yeah. But no, that's an unfortunate thing that in terms of like, writing and storytelling that we as storytellers kind of to a certain extent have to deal with. Sometimes we do create a lot of different characters, and sometimes the audience will glop onto those characters. Mm-hmm. But if they don't work in the story moving forward, sometimes you either, you should be more graceful than to just blatantly forget they exist.
Yeah.
But sometimes those characters, they just can't continue on with the narrative. At least write them a tasteful exit. God damn.
Yeah. I think that's just the problem with having a long-going series like this, because Dragon Ball's been going on for how many years now?
Well, like the original one lasted, I want to say, 10, 12 years, the manga, and then probably 15, 16 years as an anime. I want to say something around those time frames, and just, but yeah, no, that's the downside of long form storytelling. I mean, you see it in American comics all the time, supporting characters for going in and out of stories, because unfortunately they just don't work in the narrative. I mean, American comics obviously work differently because you have rotating creative teams, because everybody's got to put their OC in the arc. But
so many alternate universes too.
Well, I mean, alternate universes. That's where you get the fun shit. That's where you get the stories of what if Spider-Man started murking folks.
How do you feel about the fact that Toriyama took a character like Broly, who wasn't originally created by him, and made him canon in his own version? In his own version.
Honestly, I love it, because as cool as Broly was in that, adolescent, youthful bit of, he's the biggest, strongest of them all. Eventually, it's just like, this motherfucker's a giant baby. He is literally a giant baby, and eventually, he stopped being able to talk. That's fucked up, yo. Mm-hmm. That is not a character. That is literally a cannon you aim at your characters. And and Broly is, like from a design standpoint, very popular and all that jazz. Never ceased to be popular either. He was always one of the most popular of the movie characters.
Oh, yeah.
But
probably the most popular. I can remember as a kid, everybody talking about, even before the movie was even dubbed over here, I heard about Broly. I kept hearing about Broly's coming. Oh, they're going to put out the Broly movie. I'm like, or people would usually say, sometimes they say Broly. Broly. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh man, I can't wait till it comes out. And then it came out. I remember going to Blockbuster. That movie stayed out.
Yep.
And finally, like I ended up getting it and watching it. I remember my sister watched it with me and everything. I'm like, yeah, it was good. Yeah. I'm like, he's definitely the most popular movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was one that my middle school class wouldn't shut up about either.
But honestly, I loved it. I loved what Toriyama did with Broly because it kept the air of danger to him, but made him actually a person. This is someone that has endured ridiculous amounts of bullshit. Like, his story, for the most part, stayed intact, except for the fact that, Frieza came back and actually wound up using him against the others, which was actually it almost had an American superhero comics vibe to it. Whereas, like, basically you take this weapon and put him against the heroes. Like, you take this this very powerful character that's not very well known to everyone else, and then send him against the main characters, and then they have to, they fight it out, and and then eventually, as they do in Dragon Ball, fighting equals friendship.
One thing I love about the original Broly movie is just the fact that, literally everybody pretty much jumped him and they still couldn't beat him. Like, that was like one of the few times, because usually they always show the Saiyans like to fight alone and everybody likes to kind of do their own thing. And in that movie, it was like everybody jumped him, they still couldn't win. And it was and I remember Goku's like begging Vegeta to give him his energy, and Vegeta's just like, fine, just do it.
It's like that rare instance of Dragon Ball broke its own cardinal rule and said, all right, fuck it, we gotta jump this motherfucker. Nobody's sitting this one out. And I'm not gonna lie, the Dragon Ball Z abridged version of that movie was hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that.
Dragon Ball Z abridged in general.
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic. But it's a love letter. It's a love letter to it. But yeah, no, I love Toriyama's changes to Broly, and I love the fact he was willing to that was the thing he wanted to do. I mean, and the Broly movie, quite frankly, in my opinion, is the only movie better in terms of modern Dragon Ball than Battle of Gods. Like, Battle of Gods was one of in my opinion, a top tier Dragon Ball movie. But Broly is the only one better than it, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Like, I love superhero, but Broly,
the musical score in the Broly movie, like,
Agreed.
I love the way that they did it. Like, even though like they kind of redid some things, like the origin, like Goku's origin, I'm like, I kind of like his original origin a little bit more, but like, this one's fine too, the way that they did it.
I definitely feel like they downplayed Bardock. They made him a little too squeaky, a little too squeaky clean. I kind of liked it better when Bardock had some dirt.
He was a bad dude, and then his life got changed, and then he realized, like, okay, maybe I should have been doing some things differently.
I liked that air to him better than he's just another Saiyan, and he decided to send his kid off on the off chance of something happening. I mean, his mother,
just because he had a hunch.
Yeah, and also, like, I kind of wanted his mother to be a bad bitch too, but that didn't happen.
Also, Bardock's a brilliant scientist.
Oh yeah, he's a brilliant scientist.
Goddamn dubisms. All right.
Didn't they get sent to like the next dimension when they died?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What I could never.
Nobody died. They always got sent to the next dimension. Oh yeah. That's like in Yu-Gi-Oh. No,
they get sent to the Shadow Realm.
Yep.
What is it? You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck.
Oh damn.
Believe in the heart of the cards.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, next time I insult somebody, I need to say that.
I'm not gonna lie though. Even though it is absolutely a dubism, no line had I heard at that point ever went as hard as "Allied to good, nightmare to you."
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking.
All right. Well, considering this, goddamn, this was fun as hell. But since it looks like we're gonna need to wrap things up a little bit here, but any final thoughts? Moving on,
creatively, I say Toriyama definitely with his work, inspired me, to want to even create, hence why I mentioned the whole video game thing, and that was the first thing I wanted to do before I even wanted to do manga. So, I definitely, appreciate the work that he put out, and my condolences to his family.
Oh yeah.
And I hope and pray that he's in a better place. That's really all that I have to say about that. I mean, Gohan was a relatable character to me just because I was that kid, used to get bullied and stuff. And, I used to feel like, oh my goodness, like, if only you guys knew, what I could do, like not anything bad, but just like, I didn't, I was a lot stronger than a lot of other kids around me and stuff. So
you have the power of Toriyama and God on your side.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right, Bree.
Just his legacy is always going to live on. Dragon Ball was my introduction to shonen anime, and that's what got me into to have a broader horizon of anime. Otherwise, I'd be sticking to girl shows.
Oh, you'd be all up in the shoujo corner there. Oh, yeah,
that'd be all I watch.
Oh, okay.
So I just
moonlight.
Winning love by daylight.
You gotta finish it.
Never running from a real fight.
She is the one named Sailor Moon.
No copyright, please.
Yes. But yeah, no. As far as final thoughts go,
done.
Oh no, we're not good. We're not risking it. We're not risking it.
No. I mean, I wasn't done.
Oh no, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Just if it wasn't for Dragon Ball, we wouldn't have like One Piece, Naruto. We wouldn't have all these other great shonen anime if it wasn't for Dragon Ball being the inspiration and for all these other stuff. So I just his legacy is always going to live on, and I'm glad that he did what he did. He was able to bring inspiration to the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I can honestly say Dragon Ball was a huge influence for me, in terms of like just how the possibilities of long-term storytelling outside of like just one person telling a story with that many evolutions within it, and also a way of telling, like, and creating and incorporating characters that not everybody has to stay what they were, but on that same token, as long as they stay true to what they were, change is all right. And I don't know, just it's sad knowing that we're not going to be able to get any more stuff from him, especially because of how active he'd been with Dragon Ball lately, since Super. And I am really sad he's not going to be able to see the fruits of his labor. I would really love to see a lot of the fanboys that just were harping on Daima after it first came out eat their words. I would love for him to get the chance to experience that. But yeah, no, Toriyama Sensei, he was an inspiration to a lot.
Toyotaro has the torch.
Yeah. And his legacy will live on. But even though he's not with us anymore, he will always be with us in one extent or another. So on that note, Bree Chanel, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Irvin Johnson.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. No, I think this was a very good thing to do. And honestly, I haven't had a chance to chop it up on Dragon Ball for a minute, so this was fun. And I was your Simp Master Thirst King, Joe Kane. Rest in peace, Toriyama Sensei. But the rest of you, get the fuck out.
Oh, fuck off!
Anything you want to add?
I'm good.